I didn't have a bicycle when I first started to think. You know, I wrote that this would be a terrific idea, and I think it had been more than 20, maybe almost 30 years since I'd been on a bike.
Morning. Morning.
When Jonathan Nicholas had this idea some 23 years ago now, he and the rest of us really didn't know where we were going with it.
It's an immersion into the landscape. You're out there physically on your bike, you're taking in the scenery, you're taking in the small towns, you're beginning to really put together the real essence of what Oregon is about, and you're doing it under your own power.
You get on the bike and you put on the helmet and you put on the glasses and you put on this colorful gear. No one knows that you're the CEO of anything or that you have any particular place in any sort of an organization. So what you are is out there just a member of Cycle Oregon.
So when I wrote the first column suggesting that I was going to ride my bicycle across Oregon, and if some people would come with me, we'll spend some money on the way, I really thought that 40 or 50 people, you know, would sign up and do this thing. And that very first year, we had 1,008 people sign up to do it. And I asked everyone to throw whatever money they had left in their pockets into the hat. And that became the seed of the Cycle Oregon Fund. And all the things that we've been able to do across the state have grown from that.
One of our favorite towns on Cycle Oregon that we go back to maybe every 4 or 5, 6 years is Halfway, Oregon. A few years ago, their county fair was expanded, and their expansion dreams exceeded their ability to pay off the debt, and there was a foreclosure on the historic county fairgrounds.
And I was asked, is there anything you can do to help? You know who I turned to? I turned to Cycle Oregon. And they had an endowment, and they were part of the process that we put together that allowed them to keep the building there in their rodeo grounds.
It was the first scenic highway in the country and is now a National Historic Landmark. Cycle Oregon is continuing to support the Friends of the Historic Columbia River Highway. We recently received a second grant, and we're using that to develop a concept plan for the east side of Mitchell Point.
In the 1930s, 2 boys digging around the cave turned up some woven sagebrush sandals. They found 70 pair of woven sandals made from sagebrush that were later carbon dated at 8,000 years of age. Fabulous. And that pushed back our understanding of when Native Americans first came to the Pacific Northwest. So that cave is a special place. So Cycle Oregon, on its own, was able to, from our charitable fund, was able to purchase that cave from a private landowner and donate it to the citizens of Oregon and the Oregon State Park System. So that's now a part of Fort Rock State Park.
The Cycle Oregon donations towards the refurbishing of the Opera House is so valuable to us because without that kind of funding, this building would literally collapse. We would have to probably condemn the building, and because of their support, we're now able to restore this this jewel for our area. It's unusual to have such a wonderful building like this in such a small town, and to be able to provide entertainment and culture out in the rural area is so important to us, and we appreciate their support so much for helping us with that.
Yeah, well, we had ridden through Dufur a couple of times when we were in the Columbia Gorge area. Dufur, it turned out, didn't have Friday night football because Dufur didn't have lights for the field. So we put together a coalition of people, and we were able to put the lights on the football field, you know, for the folks in Dufur. But what was nice about it is it's about much more than a football game, you know, when it's dark. It's about helping Dufur celebrate itself and helping to engender the sense of community that comes with Friday night football.
When the proprietor of the Kam Wah Chung house actually died, he gave the house to the city of John Day. And John Day just let it sit there for about 25 or 30 years, never opened the door, and then all of a sudden somebody says, well, what's that house down there? And he says, well, that was given to us. And so they opened it up, and it was identical to what it was 25 or 30 years ago. Nothing had changed. Still Prince Albert in the can. And all of these things were on the shelf. And what has happened because of the Cycle Oregon and a number of other people, they have actually converted this into a park. What Kam Wah Chung is, it's a place now where people can go on their vacation and stop by and see history, the history of Oregon.
The first time I saw the round barn there, I was just astonished. It's my favorite building in Oregon, of any building. And I think it's the closest thing we have to a cathedral.
So we made a grant that built a fence around the round barn to keep marauding livestock from doing further damage to the building. We had interpretive signs made explaining the specialness of the place, and then we helped put a new roof on the building. And anyone who hasn't visited the round barn is missing a great attraction in Oregon.
One of the communities in Eastern Oregon, I think it may have been Heppner where we'd stayed, asked us for some help in putting a new sign on the edge of town, and I think they thought that it would be nice to actually have an illuminated sign. And when here at the board of Cycle Oregon, when we first considered the application, we imagined that it was going to be some sort of horrible Las Vegas welcome to Heppner thing, you know, with a singing cowboy or something, and we were horrified by the idea that you would mar the Oregon landscape in that way. And then of course we came to realize it was really what Heppner wanted was what was important. I think they wanted $3,000, you know, for the sign or something. So we ended up giving them what they wanted rather than we thought they ought to have.
Good morning to ya. Morning. I think we go left. You do go left, by golly. The last turn of the day.
Why is it that a community in such a faraway place appreciates so much what it is Cycle Oregon does for them? And the reason is that no one else is paying any attention to them. They don't really get the opportunity to interface in with an organization like that and actually get some specific lighting of a football field or something that Cycle Oregon only does because they pass through there.
Not only does it mean help with the economy, but it also means bringing these kids an experience that they don't get usually. Meeting people from other places, getting a chance to work together as a team in this kind of atmosphere. It's just been awesome for them.
I mean, you think of these communities where people come out from how far away, 20, 30, 40 miles away to volunteer to do this. They get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to serve us breakfast, and they schlep our bags around for us and do all this stuff. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's such a simple, wonderful, warm feeling to just see these people. In the early years, of course, it was to see people from all over Oregon getting together and talking. And now when you pull into the campsite or sit in the beer garden, you know, there'll be a heart surgeon from Chicago and an engineer from Australia and a couple of young graphic designers from Tokyo.
They get out and they have lemonade stands, and their children get out and put out signs on fence posts for you to encourage you as you go through their communities. And in all of that, there's a bridging of cultures in a way that brings it all together. You feel like a rock star. You do. You feel like a rock star.
Cycle Oregon brings us together, makes us care for each other, and I think that is very important.
They don't live out there because they're afraid to live in the city or because they think they couldn't make it in the city. They live out there because they think that that's God's chosen place to live and that they want to be part of that. And being part of that is working, you know, in a working landscape and earning a living not off the land but with the land. And it takes a while for city folks to realize that, I think, and that's probably been the warmest and the nicest benefit of 23 years of Cycle Oregon.